With the 2025 NBA draft officially over, I'm going to be making my final winners and losers of the 2025 NBA draft. As you'll be able to see, some winners will be players, some winners will be teams, some winners could be both of them, and then basically everything in between though. Make sure to like and subscribe, go into the description to submit your video ideas, and let's get right into it with my first winner, the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs only had 2 draft picks in this year's drafts. They drafted Dylan Harper with the 2nd overall pick and Carter Bryant with the 14th. Harper at 2nd was the easy pick. Everyone knew it was going to happen, so I can't credit them too much for that draft pick. But Carter Bryant landing to them at 14 is an absolute steal. Someone who I thought could have been a top 10 prospect in this year's draft, has all the intangibles, versatility to become a really solid NBA player, and they were able to snag him at pick 14. Carter Bryant gives him 3-and-D potential, really good catch and shooter, and is a solid mid-range shooter as well. He could potentially be a long-term replacement for a guy like Harrison Barnes. Dylan Harper gives them more ball handling, more point guard play, and there is never enough point guard play in the NBA. My first loser would have to be Ace Bailey and his agent Omar Cooper. He got drafted 5th overall, which obviously not a bad spot for him, but did end up in Utah, one of his non-preferred places. So whatever job that Omar Cooper was doing, that Ace Bailey was trying to push, did not end up working. Danny Ainge, Austin Ainge, ended up drafting him, and it's interesting to see how this story can unfold over the summer. My next winner has to be the Atlanta Hawks. I think they had one of the more successful overall drafts the last 3 nights. Day 1, the Atlanta Hawks traded down from 12 to 23 and still were able to pick up Asa Newell. While trading down from 12 to 23, the Hawks also acquired next year's first-round pick, which is the swap best between the Pelicans and the Milwaukee Bucks. So, if either one of the Bucks or the Pelicans end up being a lottery team next year, the Hawks are going to capitalize on that pick. So, they traded down from 12 to 23, still got their guy in Asa Newell, and most likely are going to have another lottery pick next year. On top of that, easy win for the Atlanta Hawks. I think they're having probably the best offseason so far in the NBA after getting Porzingis and having such a successful draft. My next loser has to be Joe Dumars and the overall New Orleans Pelicans front office for basically the same situation. I mentioned the Atlanta Hawks as winners. This is just such a valuable draft pick that you traded to the Hawks in that 2026 pick from your team or the Milwaukee Bucks. Yeah, that was just really valuable, and it doesn't really make sense why to trade up to pick 12 or pick 13 to get a guy like Derek Queen who doesn't really match what you need for your team. Not a shooter, not a great defender, can't stretch the floor, and around Zion Williamson, I don't know if that's going to be such a valuable asset to have long term. I think Derek Queen will be a fine player though. I don't mind their first pick in Jeremiah Fears, who I think can be their long-term point guard, but overall, making that trade up, losing that very valuable pick next year, it's going to give me an L for them for Joe Dumars in his first draft as the New Orleans Pelicans decision maker. My next winner is going to be the Phoenix Suns. I think they had a very successful 2 days at the draft. On day 1, first of all, they were able to trade their 29th overall pick and a 2029 swap worse between 3 teams to end up getting Mark Williams from the Charlotte Hornets. So that 2029 pick is going to be the worst out of the Utah Jazz, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. So more likely than not, that pick in 2029 is not going to be valuable at all. At pick 10 from the Houston Rockets trade, they're able to acquire Kamen Malawach from Duke University. Malawach is going to be a great rim runner, has very high potential, and is a pretty raw player right now. So it's good that you did get Mark Williams to potentially be your current starter, while Malawach can replace him for the long term. And then they traded up to pick 31 in the 2nd round to get, for me, a top 10 prospect in this draft in Rasheer Fleming. If you get a top 10 guy at pick 31, it's an automatic W for them. And then after that, I think at pick 42, they ended up drafting one of the best shooters in this class in Kobe Bryant. So I think it's pretty realistic to assume that they just drafted 4 rotational pieces or acquired 4 rotational pieces within the last 3 days. And for the Phoenix Suns, trying to surround Booker with more talent, that's a win. My next loser has to be the overall Brooklyn Nets draft class. Just think it didn't make too much sense. With their first pick, pick 8, they took Yegor Demon out of BYU. He was viewed to be definitely a bit of a reach at pick 8. I thought maybe late lottery, early non-lottery, but sort of a reach at pick 8. After that, at pick 19, they took Nolan Trailblazers, who's actually my favorite pick out of their draft class. I think his value at 19 was pretty perfect. Also, I'm considered probably more of a Trailblazers fan than most. I had him ranked a bit higher. After that, though, Drake Powell at 22. I did not think that was a good pick at all. And then he took Sarov and Danny Wolf who aren't terrible picks, but overall, when you look at the first round draft class, they picked 3 point guards, and then they picked one pretty raw wing, and Drake Powell, and then Danny Wolf at the end of the first round. Overall, clearly not a good draft. They skipped on players like Jace Richardson, like Nick Clifford, like Rasheer Fleming at the end of the first. Then they reached on Drake Powell as well at pick number 22. Just didn't make sense. You draft 3 point guards, 2 not great players, 5 first round picks, which is the most first round picks anyone's ever used, and somehow they put together one of the worst drafts I've ever seen. This is terrible. My next winner has to be Kasper Jonas to the Miami Heat. Jonas throughout the whole draft cycle was viewed as a top 10 guy, and the Heat have him falling all the way to pick 20. Absolute W for the Miami Heat. They needed more point guard play because right now it's Davion Mitchell and it's Tyler Hero. Terry Rozier might not be on that team next year, especially with what he's got going on off the court. So you needed younger point guard play, needed someone who could facilitate for your team, and maybe run the pick and roll with Bam as well. It's a win for the Miami Heat. Jonas, in my opinion, is one of the more safer prospects in this year's class. My next loser has to be the Portland Trailblazers. I like the fact that they traded back from 11 to 16, but you did take Hansen Yang out of China, or Yang Hansen, however he's going to go by in the NBA. This is just probably the biggest reach of the whole NBA draft. Very clear that he was not going to be a top 20 guy in this draft. I think there was some rumblings. Team could have drafted him in the late first round, but the fact that the Blazers had to trade back to 16 and still took a 40-something overall prospect is just not good value. Wish they would have traded to the late first round. Then they would not be on this list if they wanted Hansen Yang. But you have Donovan Clingan. You have a plethora of centers right now in DeAndre Ayton and Robert Williams. If you're not able to move off of Ayton and Williams, he's not going to see playing time in his first year. So overall, the pick doesn't make too much sense. Wish they would have traded back further, but now they have Hansen Yang, and it's time to develop him next to Donovan Clingan. And last but not least, my final win or lose of the 2025 NBA draft has to be the Charlotte Hornets draft. The Hornets, I was pretty impressed with what they were able to do in the first round. They were able to get Con Knipple at pick 4, which not the highest ceiling, but one of the highest floors in this draft class, and can be a starting shooting guard for you right away. And then at pick 29, they got Liam McNeely out of UConn, a father. He was a McDonald's All-American. He had an injury in early January, which kind of derailed his draft stock, but I think at 29, it's going to be great value. And then, early second round, you took Sion James out of Duke, someone who was Con Knipple's teammate, a guy that can catch and shoot for you, and is one of the best perimeter defenders in this year's draft class. And then took Ryan Kalkbrenner at 34, I believe, which should be a pretty solid replacement for Mark Williams. It's good that they did get more center depth, especially after moving their center in Mark Williams. But overall, the value at 34 for Ryan Kalkbrenner definitely deserves an overall W for the Charlotte Hornets. You've got Knipple, you got McNeely to help shoot the ball, you got Sion James for more catch and shoot ability and perimeter defense, and Kalkbrenner as more center depth. Win of a draft for the Charlotte Hornets. I like what they were able to do this year. So that's going to be it for my winners and losers in the 2025 NBA draft. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe. Go into the description to submit your video ideas, and be on the lookout for my way too early 2026 NBA draft, which will come out in just a couple days.